October the 16th, 1982, the President of Indonesia and Mrs. Soeharto arrive in Seoul at the invitation of the President of Korea and Mrs. Chun Doo-hwan, and thus the presidents of the two Pacific Basin countries once again meet in Korea. President and Mrs. Soeharto are warmly received by President and Mrs. Chun Doo-hwan. The two leaders, builders of a brighter Asian and Pacific era, share the joy of reunion after 16 months since President Chun paid a state visit to Indonesia. The nation extends a most heartfelt welcome to President Soeharto, the builder and architect of peace and mutual prosperity in Asia. At the airport, President Soeharto reviews an honor guard of the Korean Armed Forces. Primary school children extend a warm welcome. And Mayor of Seoul, Kim Sung-bae, presents a key to the city of Seoul to President Soeharto. Accompanied by an 18-member party, including the Minister for Coordinating Economic, Financial and Industrial Affairs, Jojo Nitisastro, and Secretary of State Sudamono, President and Mrs. Soeharto exchanged greetings with Korean leaders and members of the Foreign Diplomatic Corps in Seoul. Throngs of citizens and students filling both sides of the streets extend a warm welcome by waving the flags of Indonesia and Korea to President and Mrs. Soeharto as they head for the center of Seoul. To reciprocate President Chun Doo-hwan's visit to Indonesia in June 1981, President Soeharto is now paying a state visit to Korea amidst an enthusiastic welcome by the entire Korean people. At 4:30 p.m., President Soeharto and his party arrive at the Hotel Schiller. At the hotel, the presidential couples exchange friendly conversation for a while. At 6 p.m., President and Mrs. Soeharto head for Chonghwa Dae, the presidential residence, to pay a courtesy call on President and Mrs. Chun Doo-hwan. Having been warmly received by President and Mrs. Chun Doo-hwan, President and Mrs. Soeharto sign the visitors' book. President and Mrs. Soeharto present a shirt made of batik, a handbag, and a sword which symbolizes courage to President and Mrs. Chun. When they receive a crystal desk lamp and Chilbo tea set in return, President Soeharto says thank you in Korean. The presidents and the first ladies then talk with each other in a reception room. President Chun says that he hopes President and Mrs. Soeharto have an enjoyable stay in Korea. On the morning of October the 17th, President and Mrs. Soeharto go to the National Cemetery in Seoul. At the National Cemetery, President and Mrs. Soeharto pay tribute to those who sacrificed their lives to the defense of the country. visiting presidential couple now set out for a local tour. Their first stop is the Korean Heavy Industries Corporation at Changwon Industrial Complex. Upon arrival, President and Mrs. Soeharto are cordially received by KHIC President Park Jong-gi and senior members of staff. For the convenience of President Soeharto, KHIC offers a slide presentation in the Indonesian language, introducing the present status of the facilities. While making an inspection tour in KHIC, President and Mrs. Soeharto pay attention to a huge press in the 10,000-ton class. They also ask questions about the function and performance of excavators and payloaders being produced here. On the morning of October the 18th, the two presidents hold a summit talk which lasts for 2.5 hours. While reviewing the international situation, the two leaders agree to further promote bilateral economic cooperation. Following the summit meeting, the two leaders attend an expanded cabinet-level conference. Prior to the conference, President Soeharto receives Prime Minister Kim Sang-hyuk, who pays a courtesy call on him at the Hotel Schiller. President Soeharto and Premier Kim, who once lectured on politics and studied the democratic system of Indonesia, exchange views on matters of mutual interest. Meanwhile, Indonesian First Lady Mrs. Soeharto visits the Samyuk Children's Rehabilitation Center and encourages the handicapped children, who give her a hearty welcome, waving flags and presenting a bouquet of flowers. Mrs. Soeharto signs the guest book and then offers souvenirs to the children. Mrs. Soeharto, a helpful partner to President Soeharto, shows keen interest in the children's rehabilitation efforts at the center. President and Mrs. Soeharto now meet Korean businessmen at a luncheon hosted in their honor by the 4 major economic organizations at the Hotel Schiller. Korean businessmen extend a wholehearted welcome to President and Mrs. Soeharto as their state visit to Korea marks another milestone in relations between Indonesia and Korea, at a time when the two countries are expanding mutual economic relations. In the evening, President and Mrs. Soeharto attend a state dinner hosted by President and Mrs. Chon. The dinner is attended by 169 dignitaries, including President Soeharto's official party, National Assembly Speaker Jung Ne-hyuk, Chief Justice Yoo Tae-hong, Prime Minister Kim Sang-hyuk, heads of foreign diplomatic missions in Seoul, and Korean cabinet members. In his after-dinner speech, President Chun says that it is his firm belief that the ever-growing ties between the two nations will serve as a sturdy mainstay, not only for the peace and prosperity of East Asia, but also for the entire Pacific Basin. He further says that it is a fitting coincidence that today is the Islamic New Year's Day. In his reply, President Soeharto remarks that the promotion of bonds of friendship and mutual understanding is the main objective of his visit to Korea, and he asks all to join him in a toast to the health of President and Mrs. Chun Doo-hwan, to the progress and glory of Korea, and to eternal friendship between the two countries. After the dinner, the two presidential couples enjoyed Korean folk dance and music performances. The exciting drum dance, the flower crown dance, the fan dance, farmers' band music and dance. As the performers pay respects to President and Mrs. Soeharto with traditional Korean bows, the presidential couples respond with warm handshakes. On the morning of October the 19th, President and Mrs. Soeharto pay a farewell call on President and Mrs. Chun Doo-hwan. In a joint communique issued on this day, President Chun expounds the idea of a summit meeting among the Pacific Rim countries, and President Soeharto praises the idea and says that it deserves further consideration. President Chun explains the efforts and intentions of the Republic of Korea to consolidate a durable peace on the peninsula, and President Soeharto reiterates his view that the question should be solved by peaceful means through South-North dialogue. The two leaders agree to encourage the promotion of the private sector joint ventures and to expand scientific and technological cooperation. Winding up a 4-day state visit to Korea, President and Mrs. Soeharto and their party arrive at the Gimpo International Airport for departure. Because of rain, a farewell ceremony is held in the airport terminal building. Exchanging farewell greetings, the two presidents part reluctantly. Opening another chapter of the Asian and Pacific era, President and Mrs. Soeharto leave Korea.